have a deep desire of like, I guess you could say calling or purpose every day that drives me to give a lot of value when I do.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Kris Krohn Show. I think I've lined up something really important today, especially for all of you entrepreneurs out there, real estate investors, or those of you looking to make your big move. There's a time in life where we're pre-momentum, where it's like, I'm stagnating, I'm kind of stuck, I'm waiting for something good to happen. And then we get to a game of momentum where it's like, oh shoot, something shifted and we are moving, we're growing, we're hauling. And I can't think of a better person than David Carpenter to have this conversation with, because the dude's got some big momentum. David, how are you doing?
Doing amazing, Kris. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. So guys, let me just tell you a little bit about David. So David, he's 29 years old, super young, but he's partnered with a company, Salesforce, worth $150 million. This guy comes from humble beginnings, literally poverty, single mom story, and then literally gets himself at a young age to figure out 6-figure income, 7-figure income, and beyond. And so today we're going to talk about, where does this momentum come from? Because I think he has a super relatable story. And David, let's actually just start with that. Like, tell us a little bit about, your childhood, your life, and where you started getting into momentum.
I guess the best place to start would be when I decided to make a change from network marketing. This is back when I was 18. This is when I knew I needed to build passive income, become financially free. I had a big why. I'm raised by a single mom, and my dad wasn't really in the picture. So my dad was actually in prison. I got a phone call on my 16th birthday, from my dad letting me know I was the man of the house, that I needed to be able to take care of my mom. So I immediately knew I needed to get into something. So I got into network marketing, and it wasn't the right vehicle, but I learned so much about networking, communication, sales, and that business actually went under. And I had a 2-year period of time where I was just forced to serve tables and be like a fish out of water. And
you just did what you had to do to kind of get by and help the family bills.
Correct. Yeah.
What ignited then, like, the shift? Because I can imagine as a 16-year-old feeling the pressure of your dad saying you're the man of the house. After 2 years of waiting tables, what created a shift from where you're now? The shift was
I knew that I had to do something different. I knew that I had to take care of my mom. I had a big why, a big reason. I had a huge vision. I just needed to go find a vehicle, and I needed to learn how to make money. So this is where I decided to get involved in insurance. And I ended up meeting a mentor, which, if you're working with Kris, you're working with one of the best in the world. And a mentor is someone that can teach you. They have what you want. You want to listen to them because they have the freedom. And they also, what I love about you, Kris, is you have the character, the integrity, someone that is going to have long enduring wealth. It's someone that has been there, done that, already withstood the test of times. Like, that's where this man was. His name's Dustin. Shout out to you, Dustin Vinnycamp, that I met. He was 38 years old, 8-figure earner. And I was like, if I can do half of what this man has been able to do, I'm all in. And he just gave me a shot, an opportunity, and I was hungry. And he said he was willing to teach me. So for me, I had nothing to lose.
Success leaves clues.
Yes.
And listen, if you hang out with me long enough, or any of my peers, we are going to drop that M word. We're going to talk about mentors. And that's because if you actually just pause for a moment and evaluate, well, how do people learn and grow in life? It's like, well, you can read books, you can go to college, or you can get a mentor. Like, there's only a handful of choices of how you really grow. And if you look at it, like, do you really expect a book to make you millions of dollars? That's kind of foolish to think that $20 could do that. Maybe even if you read 100 books, it's like, I don't know. But then reading books is good. You get knowledge, you get some level ups, you get tips and hacks.
Yeah.
But then if you level up and you're like, well, I need to get some kind of formal education. The question is, what education do you need? If you want to be a doctor, dentist, a lawyer, engineer, you need to have a certain education, an academic education. But if you want to be financially successful, you don't go to college for that. What you do is you do exactly what David just said. You find someone that's already done it. And by the way, just to quantify what he said there, he said that his mentor was an 8-figure earner. That means that his mentor is clearing $10 million plus a year in income. And it's just like, my standards for a mentor is they need to have done it, but they also need to be relevant, meaning doing it today. So they can't be a has-been. Like something that worked a decade ago in our fast-paced world may not actually work today. And then my third criteria is you actually need a mentor to have a like 10x to 100x what you want. And since you've never even cleared 6 figures, to convince a mentor at 8 figures to help you go from 5 to 6, dude, that's crazy. And I can see why that was such a big move for you.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. It's not like it had to be earned, but he was someone that's like, hey, if you do this, I will help you. So with Dustin, it wasn't, I just got all of his time because that wasn't the reality, but he was someone where I knew that if I was going to show up and do the work, eventually I would have his time. So I think a great mentor, you have to build up to it and know, okay, I'm going to start with this mentor. He's at a lower, place, but if I continue to do the work, I eventually can level up, to this mentor. So I decided to commit to that, Kris, and I failed my exam 4 times. During this time, I was in credit card debt, and I'm trying really, really hard. I have a bunch of my friends passing, already making money, doing big things, and they're like, "Where are you at? Where are you at?" I felt this like fear of loss.
Well, you failed the exam 4 times, but over what period of time?
It was like 10 months.
Okay, so it was like almost over a year.
Almost a year.
Dude, a lot of people after one failure be like, oh, that's embarrassing, I'll try again. But 4, that's a number where a lot of people just don't come back from. I actually find that most people are like children, meaning children are like, oh, I'll try that once or twice.
Yeah.
And maybe 5 times, maybe 3 times. But usually after a couple of tries, they just give up. And it's weird that so many adults are still behaving like children. They're like, oh, I thought I was going to be a billionaire. I didn't do it in 3 tries. Like, what happened? What allowed you to persevere and stick with it?
Someone that believed in me. I had my mom as my why. I saw that it was scalable. I saw that it was a stable industry. I knew that I knew that if I could pass this and I was going to pass this, I knew what was on the other side. So again, it's being focused on not where you're at currently, but where you want to go. And I think too many times people get focused on what is necessary and where they're at and where their money's at and how bad life is, where they forget their vision. And I really believe that seeing my mom in a house and having a goal of becoming financially free and not having to worry about money and being able to, rely on my mentor's vision to see what he's already created and what I could possibly create if I just stick this thing through. Really, I held on to that during the tough moments of my life.
What's interesting is I'm seeing so many parallels in our stories, and it's not a you and me story. It's like, it's actually a pattern of success.
Yes.
That it takes someone that comes from pain, that feels like the underdog. If they can find a big enough reason, I heard it best when they said, find a dream so big that it takes your breath away, or find a why that motivates you and it makes you cry, like something really, really, really big. So you have that with your mom. And then you need that why to overcome the pain, because you're going to fail a lot. I'm kind of curious, like insurance is one of those games that is high turnover. Most people don't make it. You probably had to feel like you flubbed up a ton. Like, how did you keep going when everyone else was bailing?
I had no other option in my mind. I was like, okay, this is going to happen for me. I'm going to have a great story at the end of this. I realized that this was stable. It was scalable. This was it was going to be around. It was something I could plant my flag, and it was something that was going to get me to where I want to be. And I knew that I was going to have adversity. I was okay with it. And, that year I went through a ton of adversity, but that is what molded me and shaped me to actually prepare me for the next season.
Now, I listen, you're young, you're 29, so I want to put you on the spot because I know you've gone to 7 figures. How many years did it take new in the industry once you licensed to get to 6 figures?
I did in my first year.
You did in your first year. So rookie of the year, was this like barely skimping past 100 grand?
Yeah, I was like 120.
Okay. Comparative to most people, you had a great first year.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have had that year without your mentor?
No way.
There's no way.
No way.
No.
He gave me the blueprint.
Okay. So he get basically the scripts, what to say, how to find people, like just the everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was your first year. How many years were you six figures before you went seven?
It was my third year. After my third year, so my going on to my fourth year was that year I made six figures. 2021.
Dude, that's amazing. That's incredible. And then went to seven figures.
Yeah, seven figures was 2021. So I started in 2017. And that full, that year, that 2021 was the year that I made six
Are
figures,
you
seven
still
figures.
continuing to see the growth that you want?
So I had it down 2 years and had a business partner leave, and it was a really tough situation. I've had multiple of these times where they left with a big group of people, went to another company.
Yes.
I've had multiple, and that was a huge hit on my income. That took me from 1.4 to like 900, 700. And then this year is my first year back. Where I'm making well over $1 million this year. So I've experienced the ups and downs of it.
What's bringing you back this time?
Oh man, this is like for purpose. I'm obsessed with helping people hit their goals. I have a bigger purpose behind it. I feel like purpose is loving your neighbor and loving God for myself. And this is my way to serve and love my neighbor, because I get to teach people how to create income, I mentor people to become financially free. I get to see people help their family. So I have a deep desire of, like, I guess you could say calling or purpose every day that drives me to give a lot of value in what I do.
I had a good friend of mine, a business partner, die in a plane crash. And I remember when we were, as a company, just having all of our employees get together to talk about it, the person that sold him his life insurance was there and had sold him a really cheap term policy instead of getting him the real coverage that he needed, and didn't really fight for what he needed. And I looked at what that meant for his surviving wife and family. And there is, I'm a huge believer in life insurance. I don't invest in it. I leverage it. It's not just about death benefit. I do a lot of living benefit stuff. I'll pump money in, pull it out, use it to invest, get multiple spins on my money. And I use it for velocity. And I actually think that it's definitely a worthy purpose. I had another friend that just 5 years ago died in a horrible paragliding accident, who was also definitely really underinsured. And it just, again, made me really sad for his situation. And so I think it's a beautiful purpose that you have there. Kind of curious here.
Thank you. I wanted to also piggyback on that again. Like when we think about orphans and we think about widows, it's like, for me, I have such a heart for people that can't take care of themselves. And if they would have just had a life insurance policy, if they would have just had someone sit down with them and educate them and be able to show them that there was an option, most people are not thinking about death or life. So I love that. Again, if you stay prepared, you're going to take care of the inevitable, which is death in your family. That's a part of being, I feel like, someone that's leading the family and being a man.
Just at 1 a.m. this morning, I got in from Guatemala. We were there with our foundation doing work at our orphanage. We got 56 kids, little boys and girls, most of them under the age of 10, who have all come out of trafficking, sexual abuse. And, we were there removing black mold from their bathrooms and upgrading their situations and toilets and just basic human necessities that they were lacking. Wow. And, it was weird. I dropped a piece of social media while I was out there of just what I was doing. Yeah. And a bunch of people, hecklers, hopped on trolling, just saying, dude, stay in your lane. You're a real estate guy, business guy. Like, what are you doing talking about this stuff? And I was like, it's what you're talking about, David. There's a why. Like, most people don't get this, that you have to have a big enough reason to do something, or else when it gets hard, you're going to bail. Like, why do hard things if you don't have a big enough reason to do them? I think it creates a problem actually for a lot of successful people, that they'll retire early, they'll have a bunch of money, and then it's just like, I don't have really a why to keep on going, but now I'm losing my mojo and I'm losing my vibe, I'm losing my energy to keep on building something. And so I think that as we grow in life, our reasons need to grow. It sounds like your mom was your original reason. Did you
Yeah.
ever get her that house?
Yes, I did end up getting her house, bought her house in Mesa. Actually, I told my mom to fire her boss. So I actually hired my mom. She's making six figures with us.
Oh my
She's an
gosh.
underwriter. So
Okay.
she watches all the policies. So she's my pre-underwriter. So before it actually
You got
goes,
her
she
house at a
vets.
much better job?
Way better job. She's here. I just saw her. She's in Orlando with my sister, and she's able to have flexibility. She works from home, and I got her out of a mortgage job where she was a mortgage underwriter, working like 70 hours a week to making more with us and enjoying her life. And that's a part of my purpose. But now stepping into new purpose is being obsessed with helping other people do that. And it is so fulfilling, as you know, as a mentor, when you see your students get a result. It's a high. And it's like, if people get so hyper focused on the service level, helping someone get a better result and really helping someone change their life, if they just stayed focused on that, the result would come as an inevitable outcome.
You've had setbacks along the way. You've had some disappointments, and obviously perseverance has gotten you to where you're at. If you had to go back and change anything, would you?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't change anything.
That question always intrigues me when I ask people, because there are some people that they've got their regrets or things they want to shift. But I think that part of success, leaving clues, is that when you put an intention out there into the world, you're actually igniting adversity. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Going back to the failures like you're talking about, those taught me my greatest lessons. Those gave me the biggest conviction that I have in what I'm doing, because I know what works, what doesn't work. And it gives me a story, and it helps me to be more relatable. I think most people can look at people's failures and be able to relate to them more. But I look at my failures as, hey, because look at how much I failed. And then if you failed way less than this, you have way a better shot at an opportunity. I feel like failures actually qualify you to teach and coach, because it's the failures that kind of shape your character and mold you, make you better at your game for the ones that last. And I feel like success really is all about tests, and whoever can kind of go through those tests the longest is going to build you into someone that is, it's going to make you get to the point where you have so much more wisdom, so much more value, so much more relatability to be able to help, again, if you're a coach like yourself and myself, help people get to the next level.
I was thinking about sitting at Tony Robbins' house, and he brings in Kevin Hart as a special guest.
Wow.
And Kevin says this thing I'll never forget. Conor McGregor was there. Mike Tyson was there. And when Kevin came in, this is a group of like 40 people on Tony's lawn. And he said, every day you need to practice positivity so you reinforce it, because you need reinforced positivity to combat the inevitable negativity that is going to show up. And I thought about that entrepreneurs often develop a different relationship with failure. The way I hear you talking about it is, it's like, failure is a good thing. It's positive. It's how you learn. It's like what school is. And I'm like, failure is very much like the gym. Like, I go to the gym to fail. I pick a weight and try to convince myself psychologically that I can do something that actually, based on the data, I can't. It's like, actually, based on what I did last time, that's 2 more reps. Shouldn't be able to do that. Or that's 10 more pounds over 10 reps. Shouldn't be able to do that. And yet, I'm constantly trying to psych myself into playing a game, and sometimes I win and sometimes I lose, but I always leave the gym feeling like the biggest failure, because literally my muscles gave out. I had no more to give. I exhausted everything, and I'm like just stumbling out of there, just taking a moment to catch my breath and say, man, especially after leg day, right? After leg day, I'm feeling it. And that's the relationship with failure that I think all humans would develop, would benefit from, which is, instead of, oh, this thing went bad and my feelings were hurt. Well, that's victimhood if you don't learn the lesson. It's actually learning the lesson from it didn't work is the path to inevitable success.
I agree. I think also just on that instead of looking at it as failures, like you said, they're lessons, but also understanding what's the trend of how many of these lessons do you need to have before you get a sale. Like for me, I'm in the sales industry. So I can look at my plan and know that how many no's do I need before I get a yes. I can look at those no's and understand the trends behind them. And usually right before you have the biggest breakthroughs, you have the most no's. So again, looking at it and knowing that it's a part of the process, like you said, it's all your mindset and how quickly you can get up from a no and how quickly you can brush a no off to continue on in your process to get that result. So I just wanted to piggyback on what you said there. So cool too, your experience with Tony Robbins. That guy's a legend.
He is. Well, I want to ask one last piece of advice that you want to give our listeners from today's conversation, for them, especially if they're in a space of pre-momentum where it's like, well, I feel stagnated, I feel stuck, I'm in a rut. I'm doing what society told me or whatever I thought my game plan was, but it's not leveling up. And if they're trying to get into momentum where they finally hop that hurdle, persevere enough, stick with it enough, overcome enough, keep on going, what final advice would you have for that person that's trying to get in that momentum phase?
So momentum comes from doing the right things on a long period of time. So I would focus on what is going to get you the most results with your time, bring the highest value, and usually that is a hard thing to do. It's the thing that you're trying to avoid. And I would become a master at that. Put yourself in a position to be extremely uncomfortable as quickly as possible to get good at something like that. But I would build those systems or disciplines. I would build those proper systems into your schedule, and I would wake up, I would consistently do it regardless if you see results or not. But what happens is you start to get these invisible results, and these invisible results they're actually working on something you can't see, and that's yourself. And what happens is as you stay consistent with this, you start to grow, you start to become more, you start to add more value. And again, if your schedule's aligned with things that are multiplying your business, no matter what, with that consistency, you're going to get momentum as long as you're doing the right things.
I actually love that conversation, how you talked about the discomfort. Tony was the one who taught me. He said the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably live with determines the quality of your life. And it's this idea of so many of us, when we're pre-momentum, it's because we think that the goal is to be comfortable. But actually, everything that you want that you don't have is outside the comfort zone. So you have to figure out how to exit it, which means get comfortable with choosing to make yourself uncomfortable. By the way, if you don't know how to get comfortable making yourself uncomfortable, like jumping in a plunge pool, then life is going to happen to you and make you uncomfortable, and you're not going to be prepared for it. You're not going to have reinforced that positivity because you won't have actually trained that muscle to go into that, just like David's talking about. David, thank you so much. If people want to learn more about you, where do they find out about you?
Instagram would probably be the best place. David E. Carpenter. And you can follow the journey on there. I'm very active, posting value, sales, leadership development, things like that.
Love it. Guys, that's where you can find David, and I will see the rest of you on the next Kris Krohn Show.